Hello, Cancer friends. Up today is your October 2025 Vedic Astrology Forecast plus bonus tarot reading. We'll see what exalted Jupiter in your first house is going to bring for you. And we're going to look at how the full month of October unfolds for you by looking at the October 6th new moon and the October 20th full moon to give you a feeling for the whole month of October. If you're new here, welcome to Anastasia Tarot and Vedic Astrology channel, where I help you navigate the cosmic currents and surf the planetary wavelengths with more ease and grace. So now let's get into Cancer, Vedic Astrology and Tarot for October 2025. Chapters are time-stamped in the description below, and as always with collective readings, results are going to vary depending on your personal chart, so take what aligns and leave the rest behind. This October 2025 horoscope is for Cancer rising, Cancer moon, and Cancer sun, as per your Vedic sidereal astrology chart. Okay, Cancer, we are going to start the month on the October 6th full moon, and then later we'll get into the new moon later on in the month, so you can get a feeling for how the whole month is going to unfold. So first of all, Cancer, Jupiter remains in your 12th house. It's going to move onto your first house by the end of the month, so this is going to be quite nice for you. But for right now, in the beginning of the month, Jupiter remains on your 12th house, where you could be experiencing higher expenses, things of that nature. Jupiter tends to expand whatever house it's in, and since 12th house relates to expenses, you could be facing some higher expenses. And then that energy is really going to be a dramatic shift when Jupiter transits to your first house, which will be coming in around the middle of the month. Now, you've got Venus and Ketu are together in your second house of finances. So this is actually quite nice, especially if you've been, dealing with increased expenses from this Jupiter in the 12th. Venus in the second house can definitely bring some opportunities financially. It can start to increase your income. And Venus being the planet of, love and friendship and social connections, you may find that you're making some social connections that are helping you financially. To be aware of, Cancer, with this Venus in your second house is Venus in the second house may encourage you toward spending on luxury items or, beautification, clothing, jewelry, with this sixth house activation, beautiful things for the house. So just while Jupiter is in your 12th house, just be mindful of budget and not overspending on Venus type luxury items. There may be some temptation for that. Now, Venus is tightly conjunct Ketu in your second house. Venus is at 27 degrees, Ketu's at 24 degrees, so they are pretty tightly conjunct. And of course, Ketu, the south node of the moon, is a malefic disruptor. So really, depending on your personal chart, this can go either way. So this Ketu-Venus combination can be quite good for your finances, or with Ketu here, it can cause some disruptions, financial fluctuations. Health-wise, Ketu in the second house, pay attention to your dental health, dental hygiene at this time, and also the foods you eat. This is just, generally speaking, eating fresh fruits and vegetables, eating good, healthy, fresh food is going to help your health in case there are any disruptions coming from Ketu. But all in all, this should be a good activation for your house of finances. Now, Sun in the third house, Virgo, this is going to put your attention, Cancer, this is going to put your attention on your day-to-day life and your day-to-day communications. Sun does well here in the third house. And so, especially with Venus in the second house, if you have, younger brothers and sisters, this combination of Venus and Sun, especially if you have any kind of family business and actually work with younger brothers or sisters, this is going to give a subtle uplift to your communication. And again, this is your day-to-day communication. It's not necessarily, deep emotional, spiritual communication, but just your day-to-day habits and communication get a boost from this Sun in the third house and supported by Venus in the second house. Especially as far as your professional communications are. And Sun in the third house, again, your day-to-day communications, neighbors, siblings, all of that gets a lift from the Sun here. And with Virgo, the Sun in Virgo, you are going to be more exact and maybe even more analytical about your day-to-day communications. Again, this is quite nice. It's an opportunity to be really clear in your communications with the people you see every day, friends, neighbors, siblings, all the people you see every day. You can be more exact and more clear in your communication with them. Now, this activation of Mars in your fourth house of home, mother, vehicles, this is somewhat complex because Mars is here with Mercury. So this, Mars and Mercury are not the greatest roommates. Mercury is a negotiator, Mars is a warrior. So the thing to be aware of, Cancer, with Mars in the fourth house is, first of all, if your mom is still with us, Mars could bring some, irritation, anger issues might be coming up with your mother. And that could happen especially around the Rudra Yoga on October 20th to 23rd. But just something to be aware of during this whole transit of Mars in your fourth house. Be mindful not to be too aggressive with your near and dear ones who you share your home with, and especially with your mom. Now, if you're involved with real estate, home improvement projects, things of that nature, Mars in the fourth house can actually be favorable for real estate, if that's part of your, your business and your lifestyle. Real estate, home improvement, things of that nature can get activated by Mars in the fourth house. Mercury in the fourth house is going to highlight your communication around the home. And again, with this combination of Mercury and Mars together, really lean into learning how to set boundaries and deal with people in a tactful way. In this case, Mars, although it's considered in its, Mars is not happy in Libra. In this case, Mars being softened by being in Libra, and if Mars is able to take the lessons about communication and negotiation that Mercury is offering, this can be a good time for you to deal with some anger issues, things like that come up, but learn to deal with them in a more balanced, negotiate rather than arguing type of way. Now, The full moon itself is happening in your ninth house, and it is conjunct Saturn. Moon doesn't really like being conjunct Saturn, but this can be actually a good time for releasing. Let's talk about old communication habits. Moon is in Revati, which is a Mercury-ruled nakshatra. And if we look over here at Mercury, Mercury is in a Mars-ruled nakshatra. So this is a good time, this full moon, if you do any kind of full moon practice, meditation, anything like that around the full moon, it's a good time to focus on releasing old communication patterns around your home and really releasing what no longer works, especially if that's, giving in to anger and emotions. I know Cancer, you can be quite emotional. And, or the flip side is, really freezing people out as an expression of anger. So this full moon is a time to release some of these old, outmoded ways of communicating with your near and dear ones, those people with whom you share your home. Now, Saturn in the ninth house, of course, that's bigger than just October. Saturn retrograde in the ninth house, you may be focusing on your personal philosophy of life, religion, spirituality, philosophy. Saturn retrograde, you may be rethinking some of your personal philosophies on a deep level. Saturn is the planet of, karma through actual work, service, discipline. So this can be a good support for having daily spiritual practices, weekly, whatever that is for you, but having a sense of spiritual self-discipline. For Cancer students, this Saturn in the ninth house, again, you may find that you're having to redo some of your schoolwork and school projects, but all in all, this is going to support you developing some self-discipline with your study habits and with your spiritual life. Okay, so now we're going to fast forward to the new moon on October 21st. So Cancer, we can see that by the end of the month, Jupiter has entered your first house. And this is really quite lovely for you. Jupiter, again, depending exactly your location, Jupiter would have entered your first house October 19th. And having Jupiter over your first house is just awesome, Cancer. If you've been having any sort of health problems, Jupiter's going to improve the health and basically just, first house is self and health. So, self-esteem can improve, health can improve. All of these things are really improved by having Jupiter in your first house. And it is really quite a different energy than when Jupiter was in your 12th house, maybe causing some problems with increased expenses. So Jupiter in Cancer. So Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. This happens about every 12 years or so. And with Jupiter exalted and in your first house, Cancer, this is forming a Hamsa Yoga, which just really elevates your experience. And especially for Cancers, if you're involved in the teaching professions, if you have any kind of job, teaching, counseling, coaching, all those careers really get a benefit from Jupiter forming this Hamsa Yoga by being in your first house. And the Hamsa Yoga is in effect from October 18th to the 31st. So this is really elevating your experience from October 18th to the 31st with this Hamsa Yoga. And again, especially anyone who's involved with the teaching, coaching, guiding, those types of careers really get a boost from this Hamsa Yoga. Now, Cancer, we can see you continue with a third house activation. Venus has moved into your third house now, so it's a different sort of a third house activation, but this focus on younger siblings, neighbors, day-to-day life continues. Now, Venus is normally debilitated in Virgo. Venus does not like being in Virgo, but there's a Parivartana yoga that's happening from October 8th to the 24th. There's this Parivartana yoga where Venus is in Mercury's sign, right? Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in Venus's sign. Libra is ruled by Venus. So this Parivartana yoga between Venus and Mercury, this somewhat cancels the debilitation of Venus in Virgo. It uplifts Venus, and it's going to connect your third and fourth house activations by having these two planets. So Venus on the third house, it continues that activation where, especially with Venus being the planet of love and friendship, you may be enjoying good relationships with your neighbors, your siblings, especially your younger siblings. And there's just some more enjoyment from your day-to-day life. And it continues the theme of your communications. You know, in just your day-to-day life, your communications get a boost from this connection between Venus and Mercury in this third and fourth house activation. Now, Cancer, as you can see, by this latter part of the month, your fourth house is super activated. You've got Sun, Mars, and Mercury are all in your fourth house. And this new moon, we can see Sun and Moon conjunct at 4 degrees of Libra here. This new moon is in the nakshatra of Chitra, which is a Mars-ruled nakshatra. And again, with all this activation in your fourth house, Cancers who are involved in real estate, that may be activated. And also any Cancers, if you work at home, you know, if you are involved with real estate business or if you work at home, this is all going to get activated by this fourth house having so many planets here. Now, talking about the new moon, spiritually speaking, the new moon is the time when you plant the seeds that you would like to see grow over the next couple of weeks. And, you know, it could be, you know, beyond that. With Chitra, again, if you have any home projects, Chitra is the architect of the celestial pantheon. So any home projects for, you know, if that's part of your lifestyle, Cancer, I realize it won't be all Cancers, but this moon, this new moon in Chitra may be a nice time for planting the seeds of home improvement, real estate deals, home projects, things of that nature. And again, with Mars, you know, we did mention just being aware if, you know, anger issues are coming up with mother and the people you share your home with, and especially from that 20th to the 23rd Rudra Yoga. Just be mindful and really lean into communication rather than either arguing or freezing people out, Cancer. And you are getting some really nice support for making those kinds of breakthroughs from this Hamsa Yoga and Venus in the third house. So Cancer, that is your... Oh, one other thing I just wanted to touch upon with Rahu in the 8th house. This can put your focus on joint finances. We have, Ketu in the second house of your personal finances, and Rahu is in the 8th house of joint finances. So this is a longer transit, but again, depending on where you're at with all of this, if you are in a family business, especially Cancer, this Rahu Ketu activation may be highlighting some issues of your personal finances and your joint finances within the business or within your business partnerships, or for Cancers who are married or in some type of romantic domestic partnership like that. These issues can be highlighted. And again, it can actually be a quite nice activation of that 2-8 axis, as long as you're being mindful about being more tactful and negotiating rather than arguing things out. Okay, Cancer. So that wraps it up for your October 2025 Vedic astrology. And now we're going to get into your tarot reading. Okay, Cancer, welcome to your tarot reading for October 2025. And Cancer, I'm going to pull 3 cards for you. Okay, so first card is the Lovers. Then we have the 3 of coins and the Moon. Okay, Cancer, you're the Moon children, so this is your card. Now, Cancer, with the Lovers card, we've talked about you have all of this 4th house activation. You've got this lovely Hamsa Yoga with Jupiter moving into your 1st house in the 2nd half of the month. So with this Lovers card, for some Cancers, if you are looking for love, you may find that is coming to you. But more than that, within your existing relationships and your existing home life, and also, with Jupiter in the 1st house, it could be activating in career as well, especially for Cancers that work as teachers, guides, counselors, coaches, those types of careers. So this Lovers card is very much about unification of opposites. And sometimes, right, in our home life, everybody has their different ideas of how they want things to be. And this Lovers card speaks to taking all these different people, the male and the female polarities and all of those things, and finding a blend, finding a way how they work together. Now, this deck does follow the Tarot de Marseille, and so the Lovers also implies a choice. The actual symbolism of the card, it speaks to choosing correctly, right? As you're blending together these different forces, it's important to choose correctly, to choose love, to choose wisdom. So Cancer, as you are blending together these different factors in life, and again, on an alchemical level, this could even be the male and female polarities within your soul, right? The soul transcends gender, but we all have male and female polarities within our soul. On an alchemical level, Cancer, especially with that Saturn in the 9th house, you could be really fusing together male and female polarities on a soul level. And then on a more material level, this can have to do with all the different people in your home and your home life, or possibly in your work life. Finding, middle road and compromise that kind of takes everybody's energy and blends it together in a positive way. This is really supported by Three of Coins. So Cancer, this Three of Coins sees you involved in some teamwork. And again, with all that fourth house activation, it could actually be, construction or, home projects, home improvement, home remodel, construction, that sort of thing. But there's definitely some teamwork and, whether it's at work or in school for Cancer students. This lover is, this lover's cards is kind of, getting everyone in the team on the same page, as it were. And then this is really quite a nice card for teamwork. Now, with the Moon card, this is your card, Cancer. The moon, like your sign itself, right? The moon is the one sign out of all the 12. It's really hard to read on the Lagna Lord because your Lagna Lord, the moon, changes every couple of days. It's, Cancer is a very changeable sign because the moon is such a changeable planet. So Cancer, with Ketu in your second house with this moon card, just be aware of fluctuating finances, right? With, Ketu is on your second house, so your finances could be fluctuating. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but there could be some fluctuations and some inconsistency with that Ketu on your second house. And also, Ketu on the second puts Rahu on the eighth, so that's your personal finances and your joint finances. So there may be some fluctuations there. And, eighth house, when this moon card is, when we're applying that to the eighth house of joint finances, just be aware if you are negotiating, Cancer, if this is, it's not going to be all Cancer, but for some Cancers, if you're negotiating any sort of joint finances, joint finance ventures, again, it could be with your spouse, business partner, or, if you're in a family business, that type of thing. Just get really clear. People may not be presenting everything, on the surface. Things may look one way on the surface, but underneath the surface, there's something else going on. So with this moon card and knowing that you've got Rahu in that eighth house, just be really cognizant of, use your intuition, Cancer. You've got great intuition. Use your intuition to kind of feel the undercurrents, what's going on underneath the scenes, especially when it comes to joint finances. Okay, Cancer, so now we're going to get into your numerology. Lovers is 6, plus 3 is 9, and plus 18. The moon is trump number 18. So that's 27. 2 and 7 is 9. And in the Tarot's major arcana, 9 is the Hermit card. So Cancer, you may be a little bit of a hermit crab in October, especially around Halloween. And so with all of this fourth house activation, right, that's putting the attention on your home and your near and dear ones, maybe your relationship with your mother, but definitely Cancer, take some me time, take some alone time. And, if you are able to have that alone time in your home, if your home is your hermit crab refuge, that's wonderful. But definitely as you're looking at how are you balancing all these different relationships, both in your home life and, possibly in your work life, in your financial life, as you're, with this Lover's card, balancing all these different relationships and different people's needs, go into hermit mode for, for a little while. Especially new moon and full moon and Halloween would be lovely times, Cancer, to go into hermit mode and really turn your attention inward. Just check in with yourself, your own intuition, what feels good, what feels right. And that hermit, he really shines a light wherever there is some, uncertainty with, people's emotions with this moon card. The Hermit, if you're familiar with the card, he's, the old man holding up a lantern on top of a mountain. So as you may be dealing, with some kind of, emotional undercurrents, when you can get alone, get into your hermit crab space and really tune into your intuition, tune into, okay, what's really happening here? What am I feeling? Tuning into your Svadhisthana second chakra, which will many times kind of give you a really strong yes, no answer when you're able to clearly tune into that. And being alone supports that, right? Being able to tune into your intuition and really see with that hermit's lamp what's going on, even if there are, different opinions, different emotional undercurrents going on. So Cancer, wonderful October for you, and definitely do take some alone time and meditation. That's going to be really fruitful for you, balancing all these different things and different people that you've got going on. Cancer, if you liked this video, please do like and subscribe. This is a small channel. Every little bit helps. And wishing you the blessings of peace, prosperity, and good health for October 2025. Namaste, Cancer.